What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the numbers. These are my full card breakdown and predictions for UFC San Diego. We have Marlon Vera going against Dominick Cruz.
I need all the wins, yeah. All that and all that is. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out.
And we're back for another full card breakdown and prediction video. This week, breaking down UFC San Diego, a 13-fight card. We were supposed to have 11 fights, but we do get the Priscilla catch a beating Ariane Lipski fight onto UFC San Diego, as well as Jason Witt, Josh Quinlan. Both of those fights were supposed to take place for Vegas 59, but we now have them on this card, and we now have 13 fights on this card. Should be a pretty good one. Before we get started and talk about it all, if you guys can please leave a like on the video. It does go a long, long way. Also, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, so you're not missing out on all the content throughout the week. Dana White's Contender Series content weekly over here. Doing a live stream on Friday after the weigh-ins, as always, at 7 o'clock Eastern Time, talking my bets, DraftKings, and the weigh-ins there. And then a best bet live stream on Saturday. Just a lot going on, so make sure you are subscribed to not miss out on that. If you do want some extra content, or if you do want to support me more, be sure to sign up on dfsbythenumbers.com. The most popular option is that $10 a month betting option. With that, you get access to my UFC stat model, first notice on all of my bets. I do have 3 of them thus far for this week. My betting article, my Hail Mary parlay, access to Discord, and then the full card breakdown and best bet article, which is probably the most valuable thing on there. I go through, I break down all the fights, sometimes 12, 13, 14, 15 pages, depending on how many fights there are. I give my best bet, I give my prediction, I give my confidence rating. Just a lot of great stuff in there. So make sure you guys check that out if you are not already. And do appreciate everybody that has signed up this year. So I say we get into it, guys. And as always, we are going to start with the first fight of the night, a fight that we talked about last week. But I'm perfectly okay with breaking it down again, because I'm a big Priscilla catch-a-beating fan. So we have Ariane Lipski going against Priscilla Cachoeira. We have Lipski, 28 years old, 5'6", with a 67-inch reach, 14-7, and 3-2 in her last 5 fights. Priscilla catch-a-beating, 33 years old, 5'7", with a 65-inch reach, 11-4, and 3-2 in her last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds like we always do. Ariane Lipski opened up -185, currently -190. Priscilla catch-a-beating opened up +160. She is currently +165 here. So the reason we now have this fight on UFC San Diego is Lipski did miss weight by a decent amount. And apparently she got sick, she had to go to the hospital, and apparently she wasn't cleared to fight for UFC Vegas 59. But they moved it back a week to UFC San Diego, and here we are. So this is going to be at bantamweight this time. So Lipski's not going to have to cut down to 125 again, which I think that heavily does favor Ariane Lipski here. But yeah, sticking with the same prediction no matter what here. Priscilla Cachoeira, they call her catch-a-beating for a reason. I mean, just some of her, they're like video game numbers, some of her numbers. She is absorbing 7.91 significant strikes per minute with a negative 3.45 significant strike differential and a 45% striking defense. You will never, ever see numbers with this. Like, she is the definition of blocking punches with your face. They call her the zombie girl for a reason. They call her catch a beating. She's going to walk forward. She's going to eat literally 8 punches to give a couple. So in this matchup, I don't really like that against Lipski, who does hit very, very hard. She showed off some power in her last fight against Mandy Bum, dropping her twice. And I wouldn't be shocked if Priscilla catch a beating got hurt bad here, potentially even knocked out or submitted. Lipski has a very good submission game. I feel like if she does to get this fight down to the mat, the submission's going to be super live. So yeah, I like Lipski pretty much everywhere. I mean, as long as she's okay. I mean, she went to the hospital, she wasn't cleared. As long as she's fixed all that, everything's good on her end, I think she should absolutely win this fight. Priscilla Cachoeira, I'm a big fan of her, but her style, just eating punches, I don't think that's going to last long against fighters that hit like a truck like Lipski. So I think Lipski can hurt her on the feet, and I think Lipski has a clear path to victory of taking this fight down to the mat and finding a submission. Cachoeira has been submitted twice in her career, twice in the UFC, and I think Lipski could potentially take that path, and if she does, I think she makes it look pretty easy here. But if Lipski wants to go out there and stand and bang with Cachoeira, that's kind of playing into the game of Cachoeira, and maybe Cachoeira can maybe land something at some point. But I do think Lipski takes the path of least resistance, get this fight down to the mat, and submits Cachoeira in the very first round. So I'll say Lipski, first round submission. I think she gets it done inside the distance here. All right, moving on, we have Jason Witt going against Josh Quinlan. We have Josh Quinlan, who is 29 years old, 6 foot with a 72-inch reach, 5-0, and obviously 5-0 in his only 5 fights here. Jason Witt, 35 years old, 5'10", with a 70-inch reach, 19-8 and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here, and Josh Quinlan opened up minus 250. He's currently minus 250. Jason Witt opened up plus 210. And he is currently plus 210. So this is another fight that we talked about last week. This was a fight that we were supposed to see on Vegas 59, but Josh Quinlan, apparently, I heard the interview with the one of the guys that does the testing there, and he was talking about how there was like traces of something still in Josh Quinlan's system, so he wasn't apparently allowed to fight in Nevada, but apparently he's allowed to fight in San Diego. So, I mean, he should be all good to go here. But yeah, sketchy stuff. This is a guy in Josh Quinlan who did, his Contender Series fight got turned into a no contest because he did pop for something. So, yes, I mean, extremely sketchy stuff here, but it is what it is. I'm sticking with my prediction here. I think Josh Quinlan does knock out Jason Witt in this fight. Jason Witt, 8 losses, all 8 of them inside the distance. This guy, the chin is just not great at all, to say the least. He's getting dropped pretty much in every single fight. He's getting knocked out 6 times in his career. The cardio is not good. Like, I feel like Jason Witt has a path to victory here, and that is kind of grinding out Quinlan for 15 minutes. It's just he's shown that he does slow down as the fight goes on, and I think eventually Josh Quinlan does land something big here and puts Jason Witt out and gives him his 9th finish loss here. So, yeah, sticking with my prediction, although it's very sketchy. Josh Quinlan, I think he knocks out Jason Witt at some point. Could be in the first early on if Jason Witt wants to strike for a little bit, and it could be in the third if Jason Witt does grapple, has success, and then slows down. But I think eventually Josh Quinlan does land a big shot and knocks Jason Witt out for the 7th time in his career. All right, next we have Youssef Zalal going against Damon Blackshear. We have Youssef Zalal, who is 25 years old, 5'10", with a 75-inch reach. He is 10-5 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Damon Blackshear, he is 28 years old, 5'10", with a 72.5-inch reach, 12-4 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds, and this is, I believe, the closest line fight on the entire card. We have Zalal opening up a minus 170 favorite, currently minus 125, and Blackshear opening up plus 145, and he is currently plus 105. So some things I do want to mention. This fight is going to be at bantamweight, and I'm curious to see how Zalal looks on the scales here. And another thing is, like, we have not seen Zalal fight in a while. Like, it's been a year and a month, which is weird for Youssef Zalal, because this was a guy that was fighting like every couple months. He's going in there and he's having a fight. He's taking fights on short notice. But this is a fight where he is getting a full camp and he is coming down a weight class. So I think that's good for him. This is a guy in Youssef Zalal who is 25 years old. Last time we saw him, he was 24, very young guy, very talented guy, and I think it's good to take a year off. You know, I think he's going to improve. I think we're going to see probably a new and improved version of Youssef Zalal. I mean, training at a very good camp, Factory X, taking that year off, being a young guy in him, I think comes back and he looks really good here. Damon Blackshear, he's a young guy in his own right, 28 years old, and I guess what impressed me the most about Blackshear is the grappling, very good grappling, but the level of competition for outside the UFC. He's fought some really good guys, although he is losing to those guys. He fought Danny Sabatello, he fought Pat Sabatini, and he fought Chris Moutinho as well. He's losing to those guys, but he has fought some good competition. He fought in a really good organization as well. I think he's pretty good, but I do lean on the Zalal side here. Zalal really impressed me in his last fight against Sean Woodson, which again was a year ago, and he was having a lot of success in the striking, a lot more than I really thought, and that fight was extremely close with Woodson. I personally did score it for Youssef Zalal. Zalal outlanded Woodson, believe it or not, by 2 total strikes, and Zalal was able to control Woodson for 6 minutes, but it was Woodson that did get the decision. He was landing the more impactful strikes, and that's obviously what the judges were scoring there, and it looks like it was a split. So one judge actually did give the fight to Zalal. I gave it to Zalal as well. I thought he did enough with the control, but still, I was impressed with that performance with Zalal. Prior to that, fought Sungwoo Choi, who's a really good fighter. Prior to that, he fought Aaliyah Taporia, who's a really, really good fighter, and then he had 3 wins to start his UFC career. So I think this year off is going to be good for him. I think he comes back. I think we see improvements here, and I think he does get this fight done. by decision. Zalal's not been much of a finisher yet thus far in the UFC. Outside the UFC, I believe he finished all of his wins, but the wins, the finish wins are not really translating at this level, and I don't think he's finishing Blackshear. Blackshear is as tough as they come. His submission defense is on point. Never been finished in 4 professional losses, but yeah, I think Zalal wins this fight. He's very well-rounded, really good striking, really good wrestling and grappling as well, and I think this is a good weight class for him. So as long as the weight cut looks good, he looks good on the scales, I think this is a very winnable fight. Blackshear's no joke. He's a very good fighter, but I think Zalal's just a little bit better. So give me Zalal to win. Zalal to win by decision here. All right, next we have Angela Hill going against Lupita Godinez. We have Angela Hill, 37 years old, 5'3", with a 64.5-inch reach, 13-12, and 1-4 in her last 5 fights. Lupita Godinez, she is 20 years old, 5'2", with a 61-inch reach, 8-2, and 3-2 in her last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. Lupita Godinez is one of the biggest favorites on the card, opening at -365, currently -310. Angela Hill opened up +300, and she is currently +260 there. So, yeah, big favorite here in Godinez, and rightfully so. I mean, Angela Hill, she's getting up there in age, 37 years old. She's 1-4 in her last 5 fights. She's 13-12. If she loses this fight, she's going to be 13-13. And I do think she loses this fight. But some things I do want to mention. Angela Hill, over the years, has really improved her takedown defense. 76% takedown defense on paper. And she improved her submission defense as well because, my goodness, Verna Jandiroba, who I think is one of the best grapplers in the division, probably right behind Mackenzie Dern, she's an absolute wizard on the mat. I thought that if Jandiroba did get down Angela Hill, the fight would be over shortly after, but Angela Hill was able to survive on the mat with Jandiroba for a good amount of time. I think they were on the mat like 9 or 10 minutes total around there, and Hill was able to, kind of survive there, so that was impressive, but she did get taken down 3 times by Verna, which was not a good look. Verna, although she is a phenomenal grappler, her wrestling isn't the best, so that wasn't a great look there. Lupi is a better wrestler than Verna Jandiroba. Not a better grappler, a better wrestler. She is a phenomenal wrestler. She's very physically strong, and she grinds on you, she wears on you, and she went out there and put on her best performance of her entire career against Ariana Carnelosi. Something I want to point out, though, I mean, you take a look at Ariana Carnelosi. She is a black belt, but her takedown defense is not good at all. Her takedown defense is the worst takedown defense on paper I've seen probably ever. It's sitting here at 8%. Which is not good, and most of that is because of Lupi, but she did get taken down a couple times by Liang Na. But yeah, 8% takedown defense for Carnelosi, so I think this is absolutely going to be a step up for Lupita Godinez, but I do think this is a fight she wins. I think the striking is competitive. I do favor Hill on the striking, but Lupi's striking is pretty solid, but I just don't think it's going to be striking for long. I think Lupi's going to close the distance, get this fight down to the mat, wear on Angela Hill, take her down, and kind of grind this one out to win a decision here. So yeah, I like Lupi here to win. I like Lupi to win by decision. She's a really big favorite, and I think it's, people are really down on Hill, and, people are really high on Lupi, and rightfully so. After Lupi's last couple performances, she's looked really good. She's got some hype on her, and I think that hype is warranted. It's a step up, but it is a step up I do think she absolutely takes and wins here. So give me Lupita Godinez to win. Give me Lupita Godinez to win by decision. All right, next we have a fight that should be a banger. We have Ode Osbourne going against Tyson Nam. We have Ode Osbourne, who is 30 years old, 5'7", with a 72-inch reach, 11-4 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Tyson Nam, 38 years old, 5'7", with a 68-inch reach, 20, 12 and 1 and 2 and 3 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. Ode Osbourne, a pretty big favorite. This is another card where we have a lot of pretty big favorites on it. Ode Osbourne opened up -220. He's currently -245. And Nam opened up +185. He is currently +210. So the elephant in the room is we have Tyson Nam, who is 38 years old, almost 39 as a flyweight. That's not good at all. So and then on top of that, we have not seen Nam fight in a year in 6 months. Just big, giant red flag here. Whereas we have Ode Osbourne, who is 30 years old. He's been the more active fighter, and he's a really good fighter. He really is. I like a lot what I see from Ode Osbourne. He has that submission game in his back pocket, mostly off his back. Doesn't have the best wrestling to go out there and take guys down and use it offensively, but defensively, his grappling's very good. His takedown defense is pretty solid at times. He can be taken down, but like I said, when he gets taken down, he's extremely dangerous. But he's not going to worry about that in this fight against Tyson Nam, who's just going to go out there and do one thing. He's going to go out there and try to take off Osbourne's head, which, hey, it could happen. Tyson Nam, he does one thing good, and that is he hits very, very hard. One of the hardest hitters in the division, 60% knockout rate, and Ode Osbourne has been knocked out before, and Ode Osbourne does defend strikes at a 42% rate. 42% striking defense is not great, but it's just really hard for me to get to Tyson Nam here, really in many fights, because Tyson Nam goes out there and he just doesn't do anything. He throws, a couple strikes a minute. Let me see the total numbers here. He is throwing about 3.64 significant strikes landed per minute with only a 31% accuracy, and those land hard, so maybe he can knock out Osbourne, but in terms of the minute winning, it's going to be Osbourne all day. He's going to be the much more active fighter on the feet, and Osbourne has some power in his own right, so, could Nam catch him potentially, but it's really, really hard to rely on like a 38-year-old fighter in Nam here, especially coming out that layoff. I think Ode Osbourne wins this fight, and I think he wins it by decision. Tyson Nam is extremely durable. He has one knockout loss, I think, in the last 12 years or maybe 14. It's been a while since Tyson Nam's been knocked out. I think his last knockout loss came in 2013 against Marlon. So he's very tough for what it's worth. I'll take Osbourne to win just based off on activity. I think Osbourne's going to do more, and I think Nam's going to fall behind in terms of the volume. So give me Osbourne to win. Give me Osbourne to win by decision. All right, next we have, Gabriel Benitez going against Charlie Ontiveros, the American bad boy. We have Gabriel Benitez, who is 34 years old, 5'8" with a 71-inch reach, 22-10, and 1-4 in his last 5 fights. Charlie Ontiveros, 31 years old, 6'2" with a 76-inch reach, 11-8, and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. Gabriel Benitez opened up a -260 favorite, currently -360. Charlie Ontiveros opened up +220, currently +285. Gabriel Benitez is the biggest favorite on the entire card, and I completely agree with that. We talk about guys like Jason Witt and guys like him, Malcolm Gordon, with the durability issues. And last week I did say Jason Witt is pound for pound the least durable fighter in the UFC. I think I might have to change my mind here and go with Mr. Ontiveros as pound for pound the least durable fighter. This guy's been finished 8 times in his career, as has Jason Witt, but it's just how Ontiveros is getting finished. There's fights where there's doctor stoppages, there's corner stoppages for Ontiveros. There's fights where I saw a fight where somebody landed a body kick or a knee to the body, and Ontiveros literally said, I'm done, stop the fight. The ref didn't stop the fight. It kept going, and then somebody came and just knocked him out. So there's fights where he's quit. There's fights where he's been hurt. This guy is just the definition of, not durable at all. And against Benitez, who Benitez is not really durable in his own right. Benitez has been knocked out 4 times in the UFC. His chin seems to be kind of gone at this point as well. So basically, I think somebody's getting knocked out here. I think they're going to stand and bang. Ontiveros' takedown defense is horrendous. His ground game is really not good. But Benitez has only completed 1 takedown in his entire UFC career. So they're probably going to stand and bang until someone falls. And I lean with Benitez to go out there and land something. I think it could literally take 1 body kick, 1 hard leg kick, and this fight could be over. I like Benitez. I think he's the more durable of the two. But hey, Ontiveros is going to come out there swinging. He's a good striker offensively. I like what I see from Ontiveros. He kind of reminds me of Jordan Wright. Offensively, Ontiveros is very impressive. He throws with a ton of power. He dropped Steve Garcia twice in his last fight. But defensively, the durability, it's just not there. So I'm going to take Benitez to win. I'm going to take him to win by first-round knockout. But I think somebody's getting knocked out in this very first round. All right, next we have Martin Buday going against Lucas Bresky. We have Buday, 30 years old, 6'4", with a 77-inch reach, 10-1, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Lucas Bresky, 30 years old, 6'4", with a 70.5-inch reach, 8-1, and 1 and no 8-1-1, and then 3-0-1. He had a no contest, and he had a draw in there in his last 5 fights. There we go. All right, so this is we'll take a look at the odds first. We have Buday opening up minus 200, currently minus 265. Bresky opening up plus 170, currently plus 225 there. So this is another fighter in Bresky who his last fight got turned into a no contest because he did pop for something. And if you take a look at this guy's Sherdog picture, you could see why. There's a big difference between his Sherdog picture to what he looks like now. So you could clearly tell that this guy was on something prior to the UFC. So I go and watch Bresky, and I'll be honest, like some of the worst cardio you'll ever see. He was like gassing out bad in fights in like the first like 2 minutes of fights. So that's going to obviously be a problem. The fact that, he's very undersized is going to be a problem. Like Buday is going to have probably 30 to 35 pounds on Bresky here in this fight, which is going to be a serious problem. The cardio is the biggest thing, though, for me. Buday, I don't think is the best fighter at all. Kind of slow on the feet, kind of low volume, kind of a boring, I guess, if you want to say. Just doesn't do a ton, but what he does do well is he uses his size. He uses his size very well. He's a big dude. He weighed in, 264.5 his last fight. Bresky weighed in at 234.5 his last fight. I think Buday is going to push Bresky up against the cage, put his size on him, get him tired, and eventually get him out of there. Bresky literally has a good couple minutes of cardio, then he's gassing out bad. That's just going to be a big red flag here against Buday, who does have good cardio, and I think he's going to wear on Bresky. And also, I think if Buday could take this guy down, I think he could finish him pretty easily. Buday, for what it's worth, he's a brown belt in BJJ. It's just he's attempted 0 takedowns thus far in the UFC against Huggy Bear. Against Huggy Bear, he didn't attempt 1 takedown. Kind of just wore on him. It worked, I suppose. And then against Hood on the Contender Series, he didn't really attempt any takedowns. Kind of just wore on him. I would like to see him attempt a takedown and get on top, because when he is on top, he's very good. Great ground and pound. Good ground game, so I would like to see him go for takedowns here, but I could also see him just going out there, doing what he does, holding Bresky against the cage. This is going to be a terrible fight. It's going to be very bad. It's going to be sloppy. It's going to be greasy. They're both probably going to get tired, but I think the more tired guy is going to be Bresky here, so I'm going to say Buday does win. I'm going to say he does win by second round finish. Bresky's just gassed, it's just not good. And I don't know if he's UFC caliber as well. So give me a Buday to win. It's Buday second round knockout there. All right. Next we have 2 newcomers here. We have Yazmin Jauregui going against Lasmin Lucindo. We have Yazmin Jauregui going. She's 23 years old, 5'3" with a 64-inch reach, 8-0 and 5-0 in the last 5 fights. Lucindo, she is 20 years old, 5'3". Not sure on the reach there. She is 13-4 and 5-0 in her last 5 fights. Both these fighters extremely young. We have Jauregui, who opened up, if I can find it, there it is. So Jauregui opened up minus 260. She is currently minus 184. Lucindo opened up plus 220. She's currently plus 159. So at first glance, I was like, who the heck are these fighters? I've never heard of either of these two. And then you go watch the tape on both of them, and they're actually both very good. I think they both have, futures here in the UFC for sure, especially considering the age, right? Like Jauregui, she's 23 years old, super young, and Lucindo, she's 20 years old. She's been fighting since she was 15. So yeah, both fighters I think have decent ceilings, honestly. But Jauregui, she is a savage. Really liked what I saw from Yazmin Jauregui. She goes out there, she looks for the finish at every single point of the fight. She was beating up on this fighter for 3 rounds, and she was looking for the finish even towards the end of the fight. Getting into mount, landing ground and pound, looking for the submission, and then on the feet, she just comes forward. She's not afraid to eat a punch, to throw a punch, multiple punches, and kind of overwhelm her opponents there. Like, she has a ton of power as well for the division. She's literally 115 pounds, and I've seen her knock fighters down, hurt them bad. She's just a straight up savage. And then you got Lasmin Lucindo, who she's pretty good as well. Very good wrestling, really good grappling, and she's a savage as well on top. I've seen her finish opponents. Both these fighters are very good finishers. As far as making a pick here, I do think Yazmin Jauregui is more ready at this moment for the UFC level. I think Lucindo still is not quite there yet. I need to see more out of Lucindo. Yes, she's looking really good, but she's looking really good against some pretty questionable competition at times. And on top of that, there was only like 4 fights available out there on Lucindo. I would just like to see a little bit more. But from Yazmin, though, Yazmin Jauregui, I was extremely impressed. She's a savage. I think she finishes Lucindo here. I think she does in the very first round. Jauregui's takedown defense seems to hold up. I think that's going to be key. Her grappling seems to be good. I think that's going to be key. And then on the feet, it's going to be Yazmin Jauregui all day. She's a savage. I think she finishes Lucindo, and I think she does it in the very first round. I really can't wait for this fight. And by the way, Yazmin Jauregui, probably the last name, probably one of the toughest names to pronounce. I probably butchered it as well. But if you guys want to check out my last tweet, one of my last tweets, I did do a video practicing my pronunciation on Yazmin Jauregui. Pretty funny stuff there. But yeah, go check that out. But yeah, hopefully I did somewhat well. I always like practicing the names because I know people like to give me crap sometimes in the comments. But yeah, this is hard. This was hard. This was a very hard one to pronounce. So hopefully I got it somewhat well. But yeah, the pick, Yazmin. The pick is Yazmin to win by first round knockout. All right. Next, we have a fight that we were supposed to watch a couple months ago, and it's back, so we shall talk about it again. We have Nina Nunes going against Cynthia Calvillo. We have Nina Nunes, who is 36 years old, 5'5", with a 64-inch reach, 10-7, 3-2 in her last 5 fights. Cynthia Calvillo, 35 years old, 5'4", with a 64-inch reach, 9-4, and Calvillo is 9-4-1, and she is 1-3-1 in her last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds, although I don't think anybody should be betting on this fight. We have Calvillo opening up -140, currently -172. Nina Nunes opening up +120, currently +147. And yeah, we can break this fight down again, but I think this is more so narrative based on really both sides. We have Nina Nunes, who is now 36 years old. She took that big layoff. She had that pregnancy, right? Her last win was against Claudia Gadelha back 3 years, 6 months ago. And then she had the loss to Tatiana Suarez. No shame in that. But she takes this layoff. It was like a 2-year layoff. It was a while. Yeah, it was a 1 year and 11-month layoff. She comes back and gets Mackenzie Dern. She doesn't look good. She gets finished in the first round. Okay, and then she takes another little bit of a layoff here. 1 year and 2 months now. Now she's 36 years old. You know, does she want to do this? Is she motivated? She's with Amanda Nunes. She's got a lot going on outside of fighting. And she's not really looked good. She really hasn't shown anything in a long, long time. So you got that for Nina Nunes. I just don't know how anybody could have confidence in her. And then on the flip side, how can you have confidence in Cynthia Calvillo, who at this point, she's now 35 years old. She has an OnlyFans. She's worried about other things outside the cage like that. And she has not won a fight in 2 years. Last win was against Jessica Ai. And you just see kind of like a regression. Like against Caitlin Chukagian, she did not look good. Jessica Andrade, she got dominated. And then Andrea Lee, she just looked, that was the worst we've ever seen Cynthia Calvillo. It was kind of tough to watch it, that corner stoppage. She kind of quit in there. And then now she's on a 3-fight skid. She's 35. She has an OnlyFans. Stylistically, like, I feel like this is a good matchup for Nina Nunes. Just, she typically has good takedown defense. She is going to be the better striker. Calvillo, she's going to try to get this fight down to the mat. I don't know. There is no way I would ever bet on this fight. But as far as making a pick, I guess I'll go with Nina Nunes here. But how anybody could have any confidence on this fight, I just have no clue how. But yeah, give me Nina Nunes to win. Nunes to win by decision. I'll say she stuffs the takedowns, keeps it on the feet, and I'll say she's the better striker. But this is a mess. Give me Nina Nunes to win. Nina Nunes to win by decision. All right. Next we have Devin Clark going against Azamat Murzakanov. We have Devin Clark, who is 32 years old, 6 foot with a 75-inch reach, 13-6 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Murzakanov, 33 years old, 5'10" with a 71-inch reach, 11-0. Obviously 5-0 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. Murzakanov opened up -175, currently -155. Devin Clark opened up +150, currently +135. First look, I thought I might be going with Devin Clark here. And I think Devin Clark's going to be a very popular dog because Murzakanov did not look great in his last fight. And I think it's a big talking point this week because, Murzakanov was not winning his last fight. and it wasn't going into the third round. And I don't know what the judges have. I think 2 of the judges had it 1-1, and 1 judge had it to fawn up 2 rounds. So it was a close fight regardless, but what it showed me was, Murzakanov can carry his power late, and that can be very dangerous, especially in a fight like this. Like, stylistically, I think this is a pretty tough matchup for Devin Clark. Devin Clark is typically looking to get the fight down to the mat. I just don't know if that's going to be on the table here against Murzakanov. You went back and watched a bunch of Murzakanov tape, just looking for, what does his takedown defense look like? And honestly, I found nothing of that. Nobody's really trying to take this guy down. And he's out there taking guys down, and his ground and pound's good, his grappling's good. I just don't know if Devin Clark's going to be able to get this fight down to the mat. And if he doesn't, on the feet, Murzakonov's a much better striker. Devin Clark has a 46% striking defense. Devin Clark's been finished in 6 of his 7 losses. So I don't know. I feel like this is a very tough matchup for Devin Clark here. Clark's been knocked out 3 times. He's been submitted 3 times. Murzakanov has a ton of power. He showed that off in his last fight. He showed it off in the Contender Series. He's only been to decision. He's only won, I think, 1 decision in his career. Like, this guy's extremely dangerous, and I think he knocks out Devin Clark here, and I think he does it very early. Could Devin Clark weather the early storm like he did in the Menafield fight, get this extended? I suppose, but, we saw Murzakanov can carry that power late, tired or not, whereas Menafield, he didn't really offer much in that second or third round. So I feel like Murzakonov's extremely dangerous. I feel like he lands something big here. Could be really in any round, but I'm definitely leaning the first. I think Murzakanov does finish Devin Clark here early on. All right, 3 fights left here. We have Gerald Meerschaert going against Bruno Silva. Cannot wait for this fight. We have Bruno Silva. He is 33 years old, 6 foot with a 74-inch reach, 22-7 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Gerald Meerschaert, 34 years old, 6'1", with a 77.5-inch reach, 34-15 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. We have Bruno Silva, big favorite, opening up -200, currently -280. Meerschaert opening up +170, currently +240. I think this is a nightmare matchup for Gerald Meerschaert here. Bruno Silva, you take a look at his record. He has been submitted 5 times. The last submission loss does come back in 2016, so a while ago. And then a lot of those submission losses were earlier in his career. Apparently, he has a black belt at this point. He has 0 submissions on his record to show for it. But I forget who it was. I think it was, shout out to Dan Goldstein, who's always in the chats. He said that Bruno Silva is a black belt in ground and pound, and that is the absolute truth. This guy is a black belt in ground and pound, because we saw in the Turman fight, this guy has a ton of power on the feet, on the mat. I think Meerschaert is in big trouble here. I don't see Meerschaert having success getting this fight down to the mat, and on the feet, it's Bruno Silva all day. Like Meerschaert, especially lately, Meerschaert striking, it's improved a bit, but he just looks slow in there. He looks hittable in there, and I think Bruno Silva puts him out and probably does it in the very first round. I like Bruno Silva here quite a bit, and I like him to win by first round knockout. I don't see how Meerschaert wins this fight unless Bruno Silva knocks him down, falls him to the mat, something like that, and maybe gets caught in something. I just don't know. I think Bruno Silva puts him out cold. Bruno Silva hits like a truck here. So, I like Silva to win quite a bit. I like him to win by first round knockout. I think it's a terrible matchup for one Gerald Meerschaert. I know it's hard to count out a guy like Gerald Meerschaert. He's somebody that's definitely going to fight for your money. Just this matchup just seems like a really tough one for him, though. So I'm going to take Bruno Silva to win. Bruno Silva to win by first round knockout. All right, next we have the co-main event. We have David Onama going against Nate Landwehr. Should be a very fun fight here. David Onama, 28 years old, 5'11", with a 74-inch reach, 10-1, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Nate Landwehr, 34 years old, 5'9", with a 70.5-inch reach, 15-4, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. David Onama is a big favorite. Money pouring in on him as we speak. He opened up -300, and he went all the way to -185. And now he's back down to -300 with money pouring in on him. Nate Landwehr opened up +250, went all the way to +160, and now he's back to +250. This should be an interesting fight. David Onama, lots of hype on the guy, rightfully so. This is a guy that has went out there and just performed very well, even in his loss. On short notice against Mason Jones, made a good account for himself, showed a lot of toughness in there, which was good to see, and then went out there, finished Gabriel Benitez, and then went out there and finished his last opponent, Garrett Armfield, in that second round, showing well-roundedness. He has that power, he has that ground game. This is a fight where I think they're literally going to stand and bang here until one man falls. I don't think Onama is going to get this fight down to the mat. Nate Landwehr, what he does very well is stuff takedowns, an 87% takedown defense. I don't think this fight is going to hit the mat one way or another. I think this is going to play out on the feet, and when it does, Nate Landwehr is going to pressure. He's going to get into a brawl. He's going to get into a war. And when he does that, he leaves a lot of openings to be hit. He's been knocked out twice in the UFC, got knocked out by Herbert Burns, and then he also got knocked out by Julian Erosa, and I think he gets knocked out here by David Onama. David Onama, out of the two of these guys, both guys are dangerous, but David Onama is the much more dangerous fighter. He has much more power, and I think both guys are kind of hittable here, but I feel like the more durable guy is Onama at this point. So, I think they're going to throw down. I think they're both going to land some heavy shots, but I just trust Onama more to go out there and find that knockout shot. So I like David Onama to win. This fight should be very exciting for as long as it lasts. Onama has a 100% finish rate. I expect that to continue here. Landwehr has been finished 3 times, twice by knockout, once by sub, and I think Landwehr gets his 3rd knockout loss here. So give me Onama to win. Onama to win by, I'll say, first round knockout. And then we have the main event here. We have Marlon Vera going against Dominick Cruz. We have Marlon Vera, who is 29 years old, 5'8", with a 70.5-inch reach, 21-7-1, and 3-4-1 his last 5 fights. Dominick Cruz, 37 years old, 5'8", with a 68-inch reach, 24-3, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We have the odds here, and to be honest, I'm kind of surprised by the odds. I thought more people would be on Dominick Cruz here. But yeah, Marlon Vera opened up minus 155. He's currently minus 220. Dominick Cruz opened up plus 135. He is currently plus 185. Looks like money's still coming in on Marlon Vera here. And I agree with it. I think this fight could play out competitive for the most part, especially early on. We know Marlon Vera is a very slow starter. He's lost the majority of the first round. So I think Dominick Cruz probably wins the first round, maybe the second. But, as the fight goes on, that's when Marlon Vera gets better. And, the last time against Rob Font, it was Marlon Vera's first 5-round fight. And I remember saying, Marlon Vera in the 3rd round is a complete savage and an animal. What's he going to look like in the 4th or 5th round? I was like, I think it's going to look good. I think it's going to be insane what he looks like in that 3rd, 4th, and 5th round. And he showed in that Rob Font fight that he is a different animal in that 4th and 5th round, those championship rounds. And I think we do get into those later rounds. And when we do, Marlon Vera is going to put it on. Dominick Cruz, he's a phenomenal fighter. He's been fighting forever at this point. 37 years old. As a bantamweight, he's definitely getting up there. I think the durability is starting to go a little bit. We saw him get finished a couple fights ago, and then we also saw him get dropped in his last fight against Munoz. So the durability could be going a little bit. As he gets up there in age, the speed could be going a little bit. And, you want to have that durability against somebody in Marlon Vera. We saw in the Rob Font fight where Rob Font was landing more. And I can pull up the numbers. Rob Font was landing a lot more than Marlon Vera, but it was the big shots of Marlon Vera that was ultimately winning those rounds. Rob Font outlanded Marlon Vera 271 to 159. So by a ton, right? And you take a look at the judges' scorecards. Looks like 2 of the judges scored only 1 round for Rob Font. And then 1 judge scored 2 rounds for Rob Font. So although Rob Font is outlanding Marlon Vera, it looks like in every single round he did. The judges are still scoring the rounds for Marlon Vera because Marlon Vera is having those big moments. He's getting those knockdowns. He's beating up Rob Font's face, tearing it up, And I'm first of all, I'm shocked that Marlon Vera was not able to finish that fight. I think he got 3 or 4 knockdowns in that fight. But just Marlon Vera is super dangerous, and Dominick Cruz is not. He's the opposite of dangerous. He's really good. He has that movement. He has that wrestling, and I think he can definitely win some minutes here. It's just Marlon Vera is going to be landing the harder shots. Marlon Vera is going to be getting the knockdowns. If there is a finish in this fight, it's going to come from Marlon Vera. So for those reasons, I do lean with Marlon Vera here. But like I said, it's going to be a close fight at times. I just think as the fight goes on, Marlon Vera is going to get going. I think he's going to land something big, and I think he does finish Dominick Cruz here. I think he does finish him late in the fight. I'll say a 4th round or 5th round finish here. Dominick Cruz is trying to do his best. He's going to do his best to try to avoid getting hit. That's what he's really good at. Dominick Cruz has a 65% striking defense. It's 71%. My goodness. A 71% striking defense for Dominick Cruz. Phenomenal. But I just think eventually Marlon Vera is going to hit him with something big. I think he's going to knock him out. I like Marlon Vera here to win. I'll say 4th round knockout for Marlon Vera to get it done. And it's crazy. Marlon Vera is only 29 years old. This guy has a huge ceiling. 7 losses, never been finished. Tough as they come. I like Marlon Vera a lot here. And I like him to finish Dominick Cruz at some point in this fight. So give me Marlon Vera for the win. Should be a phenomenal fight there. But yeah, guys, that is about it. Went through all 13 fights. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe on your way out. Make sure you guys check out the live stream Friday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Live stream on Saturday for Best Bet as well. And then betting content posted throughout the week. If you guys want to, be sure to sign up on dfsbythenumbers.com here. I do have 3 bets thus far, 1 big one, 2 kind of lighter bets there. Going to be another light week for me. Had a sweep last week for UFC Vegas 59. Hopefully going to do the same thing here. Keep it light, short and sweet this week, and then close out this 12-week stretch next week with UFC 278, which should be a fun card. So yeah, lots to look forward to there. Best of luck for UFC San Diego, guys. We'll talk to you very soon. And yeah, see you guys.